reminds me a lot of the late Micheál O'Sullivan. In fact, it's a 22-year-old composer from Monaghan, a neoclassical composer called Jamie Duffy, and he is playing live here in Donegal in a couple of weeks' time, Saturday the 14th at the Social in Gweedore. And yeah, you may remember we played Jamie on the show some time back because he sort of blew up. There was a track of his called Solace, and it blew up a couple of years ago now and became the most streamed debut song by an Irish artist since Hosier. And he has, 86 million streams of that on Spotify alone. And just a few weeks ago, he actually performed at Hyde Park in London alongside Andrea Bocelli and Hans Zimmer. I'm delighted now that Jamie joins us on the line. Jamie, good afternoon.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you and see you just perfectly.
That was a nice introduction. Thank you very much,
Oh,
Sean.
well, welcome, thoroughly deserved. You
Appreciate
were
it.
you were mixing it, weren't you, at the Hyde Park?
Yes, it was kind of a crazy moment in my life getting to go over there to London and take the family over to open for Andrea Bocelli. So, yeah, it set me up for Donegal, I think.
Yes, well, it's not just Donegal because you're going off on tour, other venues around Ireland. In fact, I see that your two shows at the National Concert Hall in Dublin are sold out, so that's great.
Yeah, Dublin, Cork, Monaghan, Clare, all sold out. So, and Utrecht as well over in the Netherlands. So it's really nice to just get to do the music and take the music where, it's going to be listened to and the people are and such beautiful venues.
Yeah, well, I see that there. I just see some of them outlined here, and some different venues, and I suppose you've chosen a lot of them in a way for not just the size but the acoustics.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you've got churches there, you've got, art centers, concert halls.
Yeah, mixture.
So it's really a bit of a mix with the aim was to find beautiful venues and beautiful places. So that's come true, I think.
And I see then you mentioned Utrecht. That's in October, and then there's a couple of dates. One in Paris and one in London in December. And how do you select dates like that? Dates abroad? Do you go where the Spotify plays send you?
Yeah, you kind of pinpoint your audience and where the demographic of people that listen, what the demographic is and where they listen to you. And there's a lot of, I mean, I was number one at one point in the classical charts in the Netherlands. So it's really the music seems to be just, you know, border crossing
Mm.
in many ways. So much like me during this tour, I'm going up north too to Derry and up to Belfast and that. So and of course I'm living on the border here in
Yeah.
Glasgow. So it's maybe it's a Monaghan thing, a Glasgow thing.
It is. It's all about borders and crossing them. So yourself and the music cross borders easily. It would seem.
Yes.
It must be fascinating, especially with a track like Solace, when you watch the streams go up and up and up and up. 86 million. It is phenomenal. But
Mm.
it must also be fascinating when you go in then and you dig into it and you realize, oh my God, I can't believe there's 4 million in Turkey or wherever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to see that. I mean, this is a very Irish piece of music. This is a piece of music that I never anticipated going really much further than my own bedroom. And it's really, I mean, you look at I can see a map of where it's being streamed and there's somebody in every country. There's a few countries where there's just say 10 or 11 listeners, but like you're talking about Fiji and stuff like that. So the
Mhm.
thought that anybody would want to listen to my music in Fiji is, amazing and it's just really humbling, I guess, too.
But there's a lot of influences in there because it's not just the Irish. There's obviously classical and just different blends. So it's understandable why it would appeal in all sorts of places in different parts of the world.
Well, this is it. My influences and my own, writing is very eclectic. I'm very much inspired by the music I've listened to growing up. And we talk about Gweedore. I'm going to Gweedore because my grandfather, who was in show bands all his life, and have had so much inspiration for him. But his father actually came from Gweedore and moved over to Glasgow, and so I have cousins up there still in McGee's, and and he was actually talking to them recently, and they informed him that he had a twin when he was born, and he never knew that. But his cousin
Ah,
up in Guido had done the family tree and found this information out. So, you know, it's really nice to mix those inspirations that I had from him, and then he's written actually a song about Gweedore and Donegal, and it's inspiration to him, and he's going to do it up there in Gweedore, so it should be nice.
brilliant, brilliant. Is that the same side of the family as your grandmother who DJ'd in Castle Leslie?
They're married, so they
Yes.
met in Monaghan, so
Right. Okay.
she'll be there too. Maybe I can get her to open for me if you set a little DJ set or something.
Wouldn't that be pretty cool? Tell us about your grandmother DJing in Castle Leslie back in the '60s. There wouldn't have been too many DJs doing the circuit or even playing in one place back in the '60s.
No, absolutely not. It was called Annabelle's on the Bog, the nightclub. Obviously sort of playing on Annabelle's in London on the Bog then in Monaghan.
I get you.
And this was in the late 1960s, and there's the footage on the RTE archives there of her putting the vinyls down, and the people who had come from even as far as San Francisco at the time, which is incredible, to this little village, of Glasslough and Castle Leslie,
Yeah.
to and they're just going crazy in the long 60s-esque hair. Obviously, obviously tourists to the village, but for somebody from the village who, I just worked in the estate and then was just given this other job then of being a DJ in this sort of other world of a nightclub,
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. And it's again, you talk about inspiration. How could you not be inspired to be a musician when, you're coming from sort of those aspects?
Yeah. And again, in a way, crossing borders and breaking barriers because DJing in the '60s would have been frowned upon in many
I
parts of the
might
country.
add, John, it was closed by the bishop quite quickly after
Oh, was
it
it?
started.
Well,
Yes,
at least you tried. At least
at
you,
least he tried.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another Castle Leslie connection because you then went on to play there. You kind of started there, did you, playing the piano in the lounge?
Yeah, I played in the lounge and up in the restaurant and then over in the castle, and 4 or 5 nights a week doing 3 or 4 hour sets.
Wow. When you were very
A
young.
really great way to learn how to be a musician and interact with people. And but it's nice now, a lot of the time when you're in a restaurant and there's nobody really listening to you, people are eating their dinner. So you think, or
That's what
so
you
you can
think.
feel. So it's nice to actually go and play your own tunes on your own tour with your own listeners and audiences. So it's a really it's nice to have done both.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you say that nobody's listening to you, but I'm sure you had a lot of response from people who would have been sitting in the restaurant.
Yeah, it was. I also met some interesting characters, and Castle Leslie, some pretty big characters too would have
Mm.
walked around the odd time. And I was on with Oliver Callan this morning, and I had met him when I was 18, and he had booked me when I was 18 before any of this to play at his wedding, and then I did that, and then I was in with him this morning doing something like this, just on
Great.
RTE talking.
Wow.
So the world revolves and comes around, I guess, in circles.
Yeah, it's all about connections. Uh,
Exactly.
you're big on TikTok as well, and in fact, it must be gratifying to see the number of videos that your music is used in the background,
Mm.
and all sorts of videos, different countries, different languages, different
Yeah.
settings, and when you're putting it together, I'm sure that's not what you have in mind.
No, absolutely not. You can never imagine what somebody wants to use your music for. But I mean, my genre, ultimately I'd like to go into and will go into film composing. But it's kind of a nod to that, isn't it? I'm writing this instrumental music and people then go on and want to use it to soundtrack their own videos and their little, pieces and clips that they put up. It's like I'm sort of soundtracking that for them. So it's a really nice feeling to see that.
Yeah, yeah, because I just listened back to your music. It reminded me of the soundtrack to the piano. So I suppose only logical that you should maybe gravitate towards that sector.
Yeah.
But having said that, academically, you've just finished graduating in something which has got nothing to do with music.
No, not immediately anyway. I studied politics up in Queen's,
Uh,
politics and international relations. So 3 years of that was more than enough, but it was a really fun time. And as I said, if I didn't go to Queen's, I maybe wouldn't be sitting because I wrote this song one night at Queen's, and if I didn't go there and I didn't study politics, I wouldn't be in the room that night, and I wouldn't written that, and it's all a domino effect, isn't it?
Okay, it all makes sense then looking back.
It all makes sense. And you never know, a bit of musical diplomacy sometime, I could
Exactly.
be running for something yet.
It could make the difference. Could
Yeah, you never
end
know.
up taking down borders. Who knows? Well, listen. The best luck on the tour, and we look forward to seeing you. A reminder of the date, by the way, it's coming up in September, and it's the 14th. Yeah, Saturday the 14th, and it's at the Social in Gidor.
Yeah.
We wish you well, Jamie.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thanks for having a chat on the show. So Jamie Duffy, you want to check him out, the Social Gador, Saturday the 14th of September, before he's at a much bigger venue next time round and much harder to get tickets for. Thanks, Jamie. Good luck to
It's
you.
long ago.
Get with the best. Virgin Media, Ireland's best broadband with full fibre and speeds of 2 gig, is now available in Donegal. Check your area on Virgin